Story number 1. Outgrowing my husband, 27 male. We've been high school sweethearts, did long distance, moved out, pets, got married, bought a house, the whole shindig. There was a time I was madly in love with this guy and couldn't think how I'd be otherwise. Well, during COVID, my husband found out he has curly hair. It's actually a ball of matted fluff with some wave to it, but sure, it was news to us, so we grew it out, tried curly products and all that. I encouraged it. But now it's this greasy mop that sits atop his head. Mind you, his hygiene is rough too. We recently had to have a talk about showering more than once a week, which he complied with for about that week. I, along with his family and my mom, have gently told him it looks horrid. Think Cynthia from Rugrats or Rick from Rick and Morty. And to consider at least a trim. It honestly smells bad too, and it pisses me off every time it gets on me. Now he has me putting clips in it, so I have to rummage through the grease to pull it out of his face. The last few months, I've become less and less attracted to him and started noticing other things that I can't seem to unnoticed that has always been there. But now I can get past it, like before. Like his nasty ass, grown-out toenails with gunk under it. It's apparently my duty to cut it. He's waiting on me to trim his toes. Or that he's been dieting to lose weight, and now he looks like a fragile sick man. He's healthy, but loves the frail look. Atop all the physical stuff, there's the usual mental stuff like won't initiate or plan dates, and taking him anywhere means dragging him or giving him a pep talk beforehand to not ruin my day. Needs to be told everything that needs to get done around the house. Won't listen when I approach him with these things, or will work on it for about a day or a few, and revert back. I get that it's pretty dramatic, but it's not just the hair. I do think it led me to being grossed out enough to take a step back to assess the situation. Now it feels like I'm older and know what I want. In a man, which is a spontaneous, high-energy, social butterfly, healthy gym-loving, dude type. But I went with the complete opposite because I was young and in love, and he's genuinely a good dude, just not what I want in a man at this phase in life anymore. On a day-to-day, I keep it calm and mellow, and try to get through it without losing my cool. But some days, I just can't stand looking at that hair and everything else that comes with it, and it pisses me off. I'm sure to him it seems like I'm bipolar or mad at nothing, but it feels like I'm mad at everything all at once if the wind blows wrong. Is this normal? I've been exposed to couples that stay together, but seem like they just gotten worn down from each other my whole life. I don't want that. Is there any way to fix it since talking to him doesn't work? He's a great dude in many departments, better than most. But at the very least, I just want him to just grow up and show his full potential. I get that the hair makes him happy, but come on, it's not just about the hair.
Story number 2. Would I be the asshole for refusing to house my pregnant teen sister? I, 30 male, was working like usual until my youngest sister, 14 female, came to my workplace to tell me that she was pregnant. I was upset when I heard it because she's so young, and the baby daddy had already ditched her. Her environment isn't also good for any child to be living in. We were basically arguing from the very start before my wife, 26 female, and son, 1 male, arrived. She was confused as to why my sister was here but didn't intervene and told me she could wait for me to talk to my sister, so I did. I suggested my sister to get an abortion because she can't even take care of herself. She sure as hell can't take care of a baby, but she refused. I don't want to force her. So I suggested adoption, and she still refused, which annoyed me. I then asked her how she'd care for the baby. She said she'd get a job. I explained that she won't get any legal job at 14. That's child labor, and part-time jobs won't pay enough anyway. I asked her again, but all her responses were that she'd figure it out. We kept going back and forth. I didn't know how to make her realize the situation, so I tried to tell her that it wasn't fair for an innocent child to live with its drunk grandparents and its mom struggling. She was quiet after that, then blurted out that I could house her and the baby since I have a nice house. I didn't straight up refuse her, but I knew I didn't want to take her in either. So I asked her about other expenses. She said again that she'd figure it out later, and that was when I knew she wanted a handout and to depend on me again. So I told her no, I wouldn't take her in. I said she had 3 options. 1, abort it. 2, adopt it out. Or 3, keep it but raise it yourself. I also said if she wants to keep it, I can help with some necessities here and there, but I won't raise her baby. She seemed to turn deaf to this part, became defensive, and yelled at me with things like, "You're my brother, you're supposed to help me," or, "Are you going to leave me and the baby to fend for ourselves? You're heartless." That was when my wife decided to intervene because it had gotten out of hand. My sister seemed to aim her anger at my wife and said, "Mind your own business. You don't even have a job, and he provides for you and your son." And she wasn't done yet. She kept guilt-tripping me, and when I didn't respond, she went back to disrespecting me and my wife. It wasn't until she said something about my wife that made me snap with something more hurtful, which made her cry and stomp out. Would I be the asshole? Story number 3. Am I the asshole for blaming my wife for our homelessness and yelling, "What the fuck did you think was going to happen?" My wife and I are really struggling financially and moved in with my mom to help us get back on our feet. I know it hasn't been easy on her, but I just can't believe what she did. So my stepsister is getting married and wouldn't invite my mom as her and her siblings hate her. My stepfather refused to attend without my mom, and it was a whole big thing. I think his kids thought he was going to cave because he was always a pushover with them, but he meant it and didn't go to the wedding. I'm sure it hurt him, but he comes from a pretty toxic patriarchy culture, and he isn't going to openly show his emotions. My wife was upset on the day of the wedding, as she believes kids should always come before your spouse and that his behavior is disgusting. I don't disagree, but it also isn't our business. My wife took some pictures of him the day of the wedding to show my stepsister that he wasn't sad enough. He was just hanging with my mom, and in one of the pictures he is laughing. But I find this extremely uncomfortable for a few reasons. It is creepy and invasive to spy on people and take their pictures. They aren't even properly dressed in some of them. Like in one, I can very clearly see his dick as he is just wearing his boxers, and no, he doesn't walk around the house like that. In another, my mom appears to be wearing his shirt with nothing under it. So it is just weird. Also, we are guests in their home. Well, his daughter sent him the pictures and said she was glad he had his plaything to comfort him. He realized what my wife had done and blew up. He called us ungrateful leeches, called her a bitch, and he threw our clothes all over his lawn. I'm furious. Living with them was such a great opportunity to rebuild financially, and she just ruined it. I lost it and shouted last night that it is all her fault, and what the fuck did she think was going to happen? She is furious and says I had no right to speak to her like that regardless of what she did. Am I the asshole? Like and subscribe for more.